Okay, I'm gonna make a quilted sewn jacket. I'm going to make a quilted sewn jacket from a thrifted / passed down quilt that a family member gave me that was purchased from Goodwill. It's not a family memento or anything like that, but it was a free quilt that I was able to get my hands on to try this project. This is the first sewn garment I'm ever going to make. I've made a lot of masks and little things here and there, so I'm excited. I think this will be something easy to start with. So let me show you the quilt. It seems like it's about, I don't know, a queen size quilt. I can measure it to see exactly how big it is. Hard to convey on film, but it seems like it's about a queen size quilt if I had to guess. I'll flip the camera around so I can show some of the fabrics a little more closely and the pattern a little bit better, but yeah, it's not my favorite quilt I've ever seen. It has a lot of very interesting patterns, and then the back of it is just plain white. So this will be a good starting project. My dog really likes it. Do you like that? Very interested in it. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos where people have made these either from a pattern. There was another YouTube video where a girl made it just out of rectangles. I'm gonna do a little bit of research on what I think will be easiest, and I'm kind of leaning more towards just cutting rectangles and sewing them together. We'll see. Okay, I've decided I'm gonna buy this pattern from Etsy. I've never purchased a sewing pattern online before. I have questions. Do I need different paper to print it out? How do I put it together? This will definitely be a learning experience in and of itself, just getting the pattern, but I really think it'll look really cute with the quilted pattern. There are lots of really good reviews on it, and some of the review pictures even have girls who have made it what it looks like with quilts. So fingers crossed. It says I need batting for it, but I figure this quilt may already have batting inside of it. I've seen other quilted jacket projects where girls make the jackets with, you know, pre-owned quilts, and they replace the batting inside. I'm not really up for something like that. I got the pattern. 52 pages. I need to read through it completely so I know what to do with it. I may be in over my head, but I want to do it. I want to do it right. I want to be happy with the final result. So again, this quilt was completely free, so I've got free fabric, which is the best situation to be in for a new project that you have no idea what you're doing with. So I'm gonna get my printer out and print out all 52 pages of this pattern and see if I think I can do this. Okay, learning on the fly here. So I'm reading the pattern. It says you can print everything on your own printer, tape everything together. I understand the concept of that, but there's a second PDF of this pattern that has just the actual cutouts that you would use to cut your fabric to make the garment, and you can send that to a copy shop and have them print it on a large piece of paper. I think I'm gonna do that. Well, I'm at least gonna check into it and see how much it'll cost and how difficult it will be. So I'll report back on that. The saga continues. I called UPS. They do not have paper large enough for a sewing pattern, so I called FedEx. and they're printing it, and they had me send it over. So the pattern cost, I think, $14.95, and then she estimated that the printing for the pattern would be about $13. But I was reading through the pattern, and it has everything. It has instructions on how to make continuous bias tape. It has instructions for installing the zipper, for the special pockets that are in it. So I don't know if I'll end up using all of these skills on this first project, but I like the pattern overall. Oh, it even has instructions for quilting. If you're using a pattern, or if you're using a fabric that's not quilted already, there's instructions for quilting in the pattern. So it's a great pattern. I think it'll be worth it for me to have. I probably should have had her print 2 copies of it in case I want to make 2 sizes, but I can always go get another copy printed. Anyway, I sent that off. I'll wait for them to call me back, and we'll see what the next step is. It's a few days later. I got my pattern back from FedEx. I haven't opened it yet or looked at it, so I need to open it up, check the, I don't know, the gauge. It's a knitting term. Check to make sure the sizing is correct on it. So I assume, in past sewing patterns I've used, I assume that there will be a square for me to measure. Oh, here it is, the test square. Here is my 2-inch test square, and it is exactly 2 inches. Excellent. So here's what the pattern looks like. It was 2 pages. And at FedEx, it cost a total of, I think, $35-ish to print everything out. Okay, so I'm measuring for sizing and I'm confused. I'm measuring a size 4, which is what I measure for a lot of things. Like if I have a dress that I'm wearing or something, I'm usually a size 4, which is a small according to the pattern, but it doesn't tell me in this pattern whether this is like an oversized jacket. I know like in knitting patterns, it'll say this pattern has so much positive ease, or it's intended to be certain sizes. So I don't know. I think even though I'm measuring a small, I think I'm going to sew, I almost said knit. I think I'm going to sew a medium, a size medium, because I would rather it be too big than too small. So that's as far as I've gotten. Okay, I'm at the point where I'm going to start laying out my pattern pieces. So this specific quilt it has like a very repetitive pattern. So I'm toying around with the idea, do I try to make the pieces symmetric? It's just gonna be kind of a challenge. I've got to consider seam allowances and things like that. And then I also have these edges, so I think it would be cute. I don't know if I'm gonna do the pockets or not. They seem really challenging, but I think it would be cute to try to do all of the edges. Like this is the collar, to try to do the collar in this fabric. I can try to do the hemband in this fabric too, so this can always be the contrast. I just don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna swing it so that it's symmetrical if I can. It says that the seam allowance is included in the pattern, in the cutouts, and it's a 1/2 inch. So here is, oh, this is the zipper shield. So I could do the zipper shield also in this kind of contrast color. So all of my contrasts potentially could be this really cute blue and orange. And then I can maybe try to figure out. The good news is I'll definitely have enough fabric because I need to cut 2 of the backs, 2 of the fronts. So I should have enough, but I want to kind of get it so that when the 2 back seams come together, it kind of makes this square pattern that the quilt already has. So far, so good. I actually am really loving the way that it looks, and I think the fact that it is a well-used quilt. The fabric is nice and worn in, and it's nice and soft and pliable compared to a brand new quilt or brand new fabric that's a little more stiff. So I have all the layers pinned together still, but it has the back, the front, and the batting in the middle. So okay, I have to stop for at least a moment. I need to go see a patient, and I don't know if I'll be able to get back to doing more sewing today. We'll see. But I want to show you guys where I'm at. So I'm finishing the last front panel, and then over here I have all of my other panels. So this is my other front panel, and then I have my 2 back panels. I'll show when I get to a place where I can, I will lay out the remnants of the quilt so you can see all of the places that I cut the panels out of, just to kind of show how I'm attempting at least to make this look as symmetrical as possible. So here's what I have left over. Here are the front pieces and the back pieces. I have some pockets that I need to cut out, some like the collar and things like that. So I may use some of this fabric for the collar. I may try to get one of the squares on the pocket. So I'll kind of lay out some pieces and see what I can come up with. Okay, it's been over a week since I cut out everything for the jacket. It's been sitting on my dining room table, and I've just been staring at it for a week. I finally decided that I wasn't gonna make my own bias tape for this project, so I went and bought some coordinating bias tape, and I'm gonna go for it. I decided that for this project, the first thing that you do on this quilt jacket is put the welt pockets in, and I just decided I'm gonna omit the welt pockets. I'll probably add just some patch pockets on the front toward the end, if I decide I want to do that. So for now, the first step that I'm going to do is put the bias tape on the bottom hem of the front pieces. So I've got my sewing machine out, I got it all set up. The other thing is I didn't buy any coordinating thread for this. I'm just using white thread just to keep it easy and simple. So hopefully it doesn't look bad, but I'm gonna start actually sewing. I'm very excited. Here is an update on where I'm at. So I've sewn the hem on the front with bias tape. And then I have I put together the 2 back panels of the jacket, and it looks really nice and symmetrical. And then I did the elastic in the waistband. It's not super even. So this part was really, really challenging. You know, cutting the elastic, using a zigzag stitch and everything. So that's definitely not very even. The next step would be to put the front and the back panels together along the shoulder seams. But I think I'm actually going to take this opportunity to add a pocket to the front. I'll put my inspiration on the screen for what I'm thinking, but I think I'll just sew like a patch pocket on the front. I'll see what kind of fabric I have left. If I'm gonna do like a round or a square shaped pocket. So I'm gonna cut those out now and play around with putting bias tape on them, finishing them with bias tape, and then kind of just sewing them onto the front of the jacket. These are the front panels of my quilt. So I think I'm going to use this pocket back piece to cut out a pocket that I can sew just onto the front. I laid out the remnants of my quilt that my dog is checking out. And I have a few of these squares left. So I'm going to attempt to cut the pocket shape to align perfectly with the pattern, if that makes sense. So that when I sew the pocket onto the front panel, it almost blends in to the fabric that's already here. This is already a very busy coat. So I think adding a completely different swatch onto here that doesn't align with the quilt pattern would make it look even busier. So I'm going to attempt to do that now. I think the pockets turned out really well. So this is the wrong side. I literally just sewed the pockets on the front in an oval and then left the top edge open. So this is what they look like on the right side. They match up with the pattern square pretty perfectly, and it's a nice big cozy pocket. So yeah, of course my seams aren't absolutely perfect, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I've been working for about 6 hours on this jacket. I did take a break for dinner. I'm proud of myself for remembering to stop to eat. I'm at the point now where I just finished seaming the shoulders together, and the next step is to seam the sides and the underarms together. I only have like a yard of bias tape left, so I'm gonna make a run to Joann to get more bias tape before they close tonight. I would really like to finish this tonight. Seems like a bit much. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in the pattern that I'm going to need. More bias tape. There's an option to add twill tape to the outside of the shoulder seams. I don't even know if I'm sure they have twill tape at Joann. I think I may just be happy with the shoulder seams as they are, but I guess I'll look for twill tape while I'm there just to see what my options are. Other things I may need. Oh, and a zipper. I need to look at what size zipper I need so I can look for a zipper while I'm at Joann. I forgot about that. This is the first time I've been able to try this on because I've had pokey little pins in this for the whole time. So I finally was able to get all of the pins out, and now I just have clips. But Let's see what it's gonna look like. This is not the outfit I would wear it with, but okay. I need to go look in the mirror. We're gonna do a little selfie mirror try on. So I'm looking at it. It's definitely oversized. I made a medium when I measure more like a small, but I'm actually happy with it. The sleeves are a nice long sleeve, but not too terribly long. The body is definitely big. I could take in the sides, but I think I'm gonna leave it as is. The pockets look so good. I'm so glad I chose to do pockets. I think it would be kind of lost without pockets. And the back, this cinch in, I think is great. The directions for the elastic said to cut the elastic 4 to 6 inches shorter than the width of the back to create that kind of pleated look. And I went with 4 inches, and I think I may prefer more of a cinch, like 5 or 6 inches, especially if you're making it really oversized. But overall, I'm really happy with it, so I'm gonna continue. I'm not gonna make any modifications, mostly because I don't know how. I wanted to quickly mention the twill tape. So I did find twill tape at Joann. It's in the same section as the bias tape. They just don't have that many color options. They didn't even have like a tan. They did have kind of an off-white color, which might look okay now that I'm looking at this. But I am wondering if I just got the wider bias tape and kind of installed it on the seam like twill tape. This is what I'm talking about. So if I got the wider bias tape and just kind of put it on this top shoulder seam like the bias tape, I think it might add a lot to it. So I don't know, I might sleep on that. I'm kind of running out of gas for today. I'm going to put the bias tape in on this seam in here, kind of assess some things, but I do think that the twill tape slash, if I decided to do bias tape, would probably need to be installed before I did the collar or anything like that. So I don't know how much further I can get tonight without installing that bias tape on the shoulders. With this project, I'm trying to help make it a little more sporty and youthful by adding these stark contrast details as opposed to making everything super cohesive. I think it'll liven it up a little bit to have that shoulder seam. I don't know. I really can't decide. I'm gonna sleep on it and see what I think in the morning. Good morning, it's a new day. I feel ready to tackle some more today. I know I was trying to decide if I would add twill tape to the shoulders, but I realized since I already closed up the sleeves that that would be very difficult to do. So I won't be adding twill tape to the shoulder seams. The next step in my pattern is to encase the sleeve hems in bias tape. After that, there's an option to make a hanging loop to go on the inside. Then attach the collar, install the zipper shield, and then the zipper. So we're kind of on the home stretch. So my quilt that I used originally has some holes in it. I saw a pretty good one on this sleeve. So I think before I move on, I'm just gonna go through and repair some of these holes that I'm seeing, if I can find them. And then I'll move on to the next section. But I've got the sleeves encased in bias tape. It looks really good. Time for a zipper. This is the first zipper I've ever put in. It's a separated zipper, so I think it'll be pretty easy compared to like a hidden zipper. So I was able to attach the collar, put bias tape at the top of the collar, and then I put bias tape on the zipper shield. So here's my zipper. This is kind of the moment of truth to check the length of the zipper. And I think it's gonna be perfect. I'll pin it just to make sure, of course, but I think it's gonna work. There we go. It zips. And it was smooth. Oh my gosh, yay. Look what I have. I have a completed Grace Dolman coat. I'll put it on for, I'll model it, but I cannot believe I'm finished with this. This, as long as it took me to make, I feel like I was done with it before I really realized I was actually done. So let me try it on.